Greetings, brothers and sisters. Good evening. Tonight is March 25th, 2025. We are continuing session 22, featuring lesson 22, reading of the 5-year plan. Will be preceded by quiz of sorts of the previous lesson, lesson 21, titled "The History of the UNIA." And again, it's a very important lesson. One second, Sister Desiree. Very important lesson. One way I think of it, just to summarize this lesson, is this lesson would be great, in my opinion, for orientation of the UNIA. This lesson itself is a brief summary of the history of the UNIA, specifically in Marcus Garvey's time. Things after Marcus Garvey's time are not listed, but the founding of the UNIA and the structure and the purpose is detailed here in lesson 21. Sister Desiree, you have a question?
Not really a question, but tell everybody why you're running a little late. I think that is very good information and needs to be known. It wasn't like you was late because you was at a club or at the pool hall. You were late because you was involved in an event that happened in the community that involved our brothers and sisters, and they need to know the reason why President John was late.
Yes, thank you, Sister Desiree. We'll share more about that. Well, I sent out an email, all members should have gotten, celebrating or, announcing the program that took place today, March 25th, 2025. The date of March 25th is important. 1917, Marcus Garvey's first speech here in Atlanta took place at Big Bethel AME Church. Last year, some brothers and sisters in the UNIA wanted to commemorate that event, and they had a program, and they're working to make it an annual program. So tonight, they had the unveiling of a plaque dedicated to the building, specifically for the speaking of Marcus Garvey in 1917. I had some good speakers, and also had a brief presentation from Brother Samuel Lee Fudge, who plays Marcus Garvey in the film Mosiah. But the festivities were still taking place when I had to leave. Great event, great program, and it's something that we plan to continue to support as long as they continue the annual program. So thank you, Sister Desiree, for that reminder. But yeah, work in the community. All right, with that, we do need to proceed. I want to wrap up the training as best we can tonight and prepare for the upcoming exam. We'll open up our session with the motto. If everyone would please come off mute and repeat after me. We'll do a brief motto. One God.
One God.
One aim.
One aim.
And one destiny.
One destiny.
All right, race first. We will use that for today's opening. Okay. Let me grab, well, I guess I don't need my book because I got it up here. Any questions or comments before we go into the questions for tonight? We got 3 slides worth of questions. Okay, 9:40. Let's go ahead and jump straight into questions for tonight. So first question, lesson 21, history of the UNIA, very important question. What does Mr. Garvey say is the purpose of the UNIA in this lesson? That's something we should know. That's something that we should be asking as we come into the UNIA, as we become members and strive to be officers. What is the purpose of this thing called the UNIA? What is it that we're trying to achieve? According to lesson
If
20,
I may answer.
Go ahead, Dr. Kuda.
The purpose of the UNIA is to promote unity, pride, and self-reliance amongst people of African descent, and to work for the redemption of Africa and the upliftment of the Black race.
You are not wrong. Dr. Kuda. I'm speaking specifically in regards to this lesson. What does Mr. Garvey, how does Mr. Garvey articulate the purpose of the UNIA?
The UNIA-ACL was intended as one organization to carry out all the aims and objects of the Constitution, but the laws of the state in which the organization operates separate the functions of friendly and fraternal organizations from those of business organizations. Hence, in the corporation of the name of the association in the state of New York, 1918, the two organizations were incorporated separately. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
No. Well, you know one thing for sure, Marcus Garvey wanted to uplift his people and take them out of ignorance.
Yes. What is being said is not incorrect, but it is not coming from lesson 21. So we're gonna have to take a second stop, open up our text, and find out
Yep.
lesson 21. How does Mr. Garvey articulate the purpose of the UNIA?
For the purpose of raising the status of the Negro to national expression and general freedom.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for. First paragraph, Universal Negro Improvement Association African Communities League was conceived as an organization for the purpose of what? Purpose of raising the status of the Negro to national expression and general freedom, is how it is articulated in lesson 21. Any questions on that? Each question is lesson specific. There's one question specifically, what is the aim of the UNIA? But depending on what lesson we're reading, Mr. Garvey articulates it different for different lessons. So for lesson 21, Mr. Garvey says the purpose of the UNIA is raising the status of the Negro to national expression and general freedom. It's just a different way of articulating what we've already discussed in our aims and objectives: self-reliance, self-initiative, self-governance. And to do that from an individual standpoint, a community standpoint, and then, evolving into a national expression. Questions, comments so far? Okay. Next question. Where were the first meetings of the UNIA-ACL held? Yes, nationally, Brother Eric. Where were the first meetings on the UNIA-ACL held? Not just city, but I think this is a particular facility.
Facility or place?
I think it's facility.
Liberty Hall. Is that wrong? Right?
Collegiate.
Exact. It's Collegiate Hall. Wait, hold on. Wait. Kingston. Meetings of the association were regularly held. Later, he held meetings of the organization at Collegiate Hall. So let's see. Again, everything's coming from the text. So third paragraph, July 1914, he got together a group of men and women in the city of Kingston. I guess that would be a legitimate answer. There he organized the association. Meetings in the name of the association, UNIA-ACL, were held regularly. So it looks like Kingston would be the correct answer, specifically in regards to where the first meetings were held. Collegiate Hall, that would suffice, but Kingston would be the correct answer. But Collegiate Hall is important as well, and I think we talk about that in some of the subsequent questions when it talks about the evolution of meetings. What was the name of the institute and the organization that Garvey visited for support and received little encouragement. And this is when he first arrived in America.
Wait a minute, I got this one. Tuskegee.
Tuskegee is the institute. What about the organization? This is important from an orientation standpoint as well. We got to know the history of the challenges that Mr. Garvey faced when he first got to the United States.
Not the Tuskegee Institute?
Tuskegee Institute is the institute, but what about the organization? There was another group.
The NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People.
Yes, and Brother Eric had it in the chat as well. So Tuskegee Institute was one, NAACP was the other. So page 164, on his arrival in America, Mr. Garvey visited Tuskegee Institute on an outstanding invitation from the late Booker T. Washington, which we should know. Mr. Garvey was coming to the United States to replicate the Tuskegee Institute in Jamaica. At the Institute, he met with the principal, Dr. Robert R. Moulton, and Professor E.J. Scott, Secretary Treasurer. He discussed with them the purpose of the organization, which was similar to the present aims and objects of the organization, which have been written into the UNIA-ACL Constitution. Mr. Garvey received very little encouragement and left Tuskegee to continue a trip through the United States. On his return to New York, he visited Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois at the office of the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Discussed with him also the aims and objects of the association and possibility of organizing the movement in the United States. He was very much discouraged by Du Bois. He undertook the organization on his own account in Harlem, but he tried to go to Tuskegee. He also tried to go to NAACP through W.E.B. Du Bois, and he received very little encouragement from both. Questions, comments so far? Okay, so we got purpose, we got where the meeting started in Jamaica, we got the institute and organization that Mr. Garvey sought help from. Next question is the evolution of the meetings. What was the name of the 3 facilities that Garvey used for mass meetings before he found a Liberty Hall? And I think we mentioned one of them already. But there were 3 facilities prior to Mr. Garvey having a Liberty Hall.
Palace Casino at 135th Street and 5th Avenue.
Palace Casino at 135th and 5th Ave. Yes, that's the second location. Or is that the third location?
Okay, Lafayette Hall. No, that's the second location. Lafayette Hall at 129th Street and 7th Avenue. And then also the Crescent Theater. Okay, so Palace Casino was also known as the Crescent Theater. And so the other place, again, we go back to Liberty Hall. And Liberty Hall was on between Lenox and 7th Avenue.
Yes, well, so you see Palace Casino and Lafayette Hall. Meetings at Lafayette Hall grew rapidly with occasional meetings held at Palace Casino. After Lafayette Hall became too small, Palace Casino. So Palace Casino was third, Lafayette Hall was second, and we should know from the first page, Collegiate Hall was the first.
Well, that was over there. Okay, sorry.
Collegiate Hall, and then yeah, you're right though. That was in Jamaica.
Yeah, that was in Jamaica. So we're talking about what's going on right here in the Americas. So you can't count them as the one, you know.
Let's see. Let me
But
see.
look, it says right here. Well, I don't know what you're reading, but it says by first speaking on the streets. Because all right, so if you're gonna name that, at first he was speaking on the streets. particularly on Lenox Avenue during the week evenings, and inviting his listeners to attend Sunday meetings at Lafayette Hall at 129th Street and 7th Avenue. This meeting at Lafayette Hall grew rapidly in membership, with occasional overflowing mass meetings held at the Palace Casino at 135th Street and 5th Avenue. After Lafayette Hall became too small to accommodate the growing membership meetings, the Palace Casino was secured for regular mass meetings, and offices were established on the premises above what was then known as the Crescent Theater at 131st Street. From the Crescent Theater building at the Palace Casino, the movement grew with much
Just
rap.
slow down, slow down. Thank you. That's you are correct that the question should have been isolated to New York. And the answer to the question would be Lafayette Hall, Palace Casino, and Crescent Theater. But these were the three facilities that Mr. Garvey used prior to establishing the first Liberty Hall. Okay. All right, we will proceed. Next question. Well, second half of that question, actually. Let's see if it's the right page. No, it's the wrong one. Apologies, 1 second. Second half of that question is, after Garvey arrived in Harlem, New York, how long did it take for him to establish the first Liberty Hall?
18 months.
18 months, absolutely. Thank you, Sister Desiree. Any questions, comments on that? But just going into, again, the history, Marcus Garvey got to the United States in March 1916, for the purpose of uplifting our people, but also related to the purpose of meeting Booker T. Washington to establish a institute in Jamaica. Held the organization, met with Tuskegee and NAACP, received little support, and began to work on his own. Utilized 3 facilities prior to establishing a Liberty Hall, but basically showing he didn't wait. He utilized what was available, and in the process of doing that, within 18 months, he was able to establish the first Liberty Hall in New York. Okay, no questions. Next question. When was the first International Convention of Negro Peoples of the World? Another very important officer question, which we should commit to memory.
August of 1920.
August of 1920. Absolutely. That's got to be, committed to our memory. August 1920. That's when the world changed for Negro peoples of the world, or Africans throughout the world. To know what the UNIA is, what must we do? In order to know what the UNIA is, what must we do, according to the section titled How to Teach the UNIA?
We must first read its Constitution and the Book of Laws from cover to cover.
And what else? That is the primary. What else? He continues, adds a little bit more.
You must also read the literature written by the founder, bearing on the activities of the organization.
Yes.
The preamble of the Constitution is vitally
Hold
important.
on, Sister Desiree. That's the next question. Yeah. You just got what part of the Constitution is of vital importance used to defend the organization in courts or among government authorities?
Preamble.
Yes. Everybody understand that? So let me go to the book briefly.
Hey, President John, it would be good to show everybody if we could take like a quick flash of the preamble.
Sure. Yeah, we'll do that. To know what the UNIA is, this is under the section how to teach the UNIA, and this is what we must be able to do as officers and leaders. We must be able to teach the UNIA. To know what the UNIA is, we must first read its Constitution and Book of Laws from cover to cover. Who can say they read the Constitution and Book of Laws from cover to cover so far? Okay. That's homework. It's it's not anything due next week, but this is Mr. Garvey's words. It's not my words. It's not my opinion. But I do hold us to this standard. If this is what we claim we desire to be, Garveyites, leaders in the UNIA, then we should be carrying out the directives that Mr. Garvey left us. You must also read the literature written by the founder bearing on the activities of the organization. That philosophies and opinions holds a lot of that. Yeah, because it's written by the founder, so he's talking about things that Mr. Garvey himself wrote. Okay, and preamble. So preamble is used to defend the organization. This must also, officers, we know we've talked about this. This is something we're going to work to commit to memory. Just like we're doing with our pledge to the red, black, and green flag, we must commit that to memory. A preamble must also be committed to memory. Preamble, per the Constitution of UNIA-ACL, states that Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League is a social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society, and is founded by persons desiring to the utmost to work for the general uplift of the Negro peoples of the world. And the members pledge themselves to do all in their power to conserve the rights of their noble race and to respect the rights of all mankind, believing always in the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. The motto of the organization is one God, one aim, one destiny. Therefore, let justice be done to all mankind, realizing that the strong oppresses the weak. Confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of man, but with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be heralded into the world, and the generations of men shall be called blessed. So that is our preamble. Commit that to memory and use that to defend as well as to encourage our brothers and sisters to support. Okay, that's which part of the Constitution. Why was the preamble of the Constitution written? Why was the preamble of the Constitution written?
For the purpose of winning the sympathy and support of alien races.
Yes. Where the other objects of the association are being threatened by hostility. Preambles written specifically for the purpose of winning the sympathy and support of alien races where the objects of the association are being threatened by hostility. So when we are accused of being a certain way or treating people a certain way or being misrepresented, we go to our Constitution, we go to our preamble, we allow our preamble to defend our actions and our goals. Questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. So I think that when Marcus Garvey was using the word winning the sympathy and support of alien races, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he meant it as a weakness. I don't want people to get it confused as a weakness because he already told you to the message of the people how he felt about everything else, right? I think it was more of like, because like he said before, we're not supposed to be letting them know what we doing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't turn around and you don't read this in front around any of them. You don't spend your money with them, right? Everything stays in house. So I think that when he was talking about the sympathy, right, that was revolutionary if you think about how he really meant it as far as his sympathy. That was a mind game of dealing with them.
Yes, yes, but it is literal as well. In regards to, if we are the UNIA, and we are showing up in mass to an event or a program or whatever it may be, our presence alone, and the organization of a presence in mass can be intimidating. And the colors, our colors, red, black, and green, have been misrepresented through the years. So it can be an issue where our perception is, or our reputation precedes us. So we may have to pull out the preamble to explain to whoever's in authority who it is that we are and what it is that we're trying to achieve, in an effort to disarm them, if that makes sense.
Yes, mentally, right? Because he already knew how they are. And if he didn't, he wouldn't have put together all this information to study, right?
Yes.
It was a mental, just like the Chinese, they be putting them shocks at people's brains when they think they don't know they over there spying, And I'm saying as time goes on, history goes on, but he's telling you that your mind is actually the most powerful, right? Because you utilize your mind with all the attributes that it can do, just like when he tells you about reading and everything else, all of that, everything works together in one unit through the whole book.
Yes. Yes, it is. It is cohesive. Uh, Very true. Okay, let's proceed. It's a little after 10.
Costco isn't just a store. It's a shopping experience that's
All right, and that was why as a preamble. We got 2 more slides. What are the 2 separate functions of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and the African Communities League? What was different between the UNIA and the ACL?
Where we explore the 8 fish to avoid at all costs. It's no secret that omega-3 fatty acids,
Sister Diane, you got some background. You watching some science.
Sorry.
What's the difference between the UNIA and ACL? This is a one-on-one membership recruitment question. When we present ourselves, that's a basic question somebody asks. What's the difference between the UNIA and the ACL?
I think initially, go ahead.
Go ahead, First Lady.
That's Lady President.
I apologize, Lady President. I apologize. I was thinking, it was more spiritual than anything else. Anyway.
That's okay. So I was just going to say, I believe initially the ACL was supposed to handle like the business portion, but then they became one in the same organization.
Well, they
Thought I
started
read
out one
somewhere.
and the same. They started out one and the same. You are correct. ACL was business. What does that mean? What does that leave for the UNIA portion? What was their focus?
All right, so here we go. The organization had to be.
Wait, Sister Desiree. I know you got it, but it relates to, if we know the number one aim of the UNIA and 11 aims and objectives. Anybody remember what the first one is?
Confraternity.
Yes,
Frater-
confraternity. Now, Sister Desiree, go ahead and read what you got.
All right, the organizations had to be incorporated as the Universal Negro Improvement Association Incorporated and the African Communities Leagues Incorporated. The UNIA was incorporated as a fraternal organization, and the African Communities League was incorporated as a business organization.
Mhm.
But the convention of 1920 accepted the original idea and linked the two organizations together as the UNIA and the ACL to hold the principles that were intended so that the two organizations could not go apart if they were not related.
So once the UNIA was incorporated, the ACL was incorporated. I'm assuming that there may have been a little bit of a disconnect to where UNIA was focused on fraternity and the ACL was focused on business, but they weren't necessarily focused on being cohesive and working together. So in 1920, Mr. Garvey made it clear that these two entities should be functioning cohesively and together. We're not a business organization. We're not a fraternal organization. We are a confraternity that also has business principles, but we are both. We're not one or the other. We are both. Questions, comments on UNIA and ACL?
Yes, I have a question. Can you explain when someone says that initially they wanted to be a fraternal organization? Can you explain the definition of fraternal utilized in this passage, as well as we go back to the business, and explain that a little further for me, please?
Well, fraternal is family. It's related to the terms maternal and paternal, your mother and father. But fraternal is a family that you create. In modern time, fraternity is known as a male group that comes together, a male society, and the female version would be a sorority. But that's why Mr. Garvey and the UNIA use the words confraternity, because that's both male and female. But the intention is it's a family. With the UNIA, red, black, and green, the top color is red. It's the blood that brings us together, that makes us one. And that's what Mr. Garvey wants us to remember and emphasize as we are uniting. We're already family. We've just, been scattered and now we're working to come back together. So that's the fraternal aspect, is the family aspect.
Okay, so to add on to that, with the fraternal, because at our HBCUs, we have fraternities, sororities, and the question is asked, even using fraternal, and what the UNIA stands for, is reputation. Was there any hazing done? To become a member of the UNIA, do you have to beat somebody in their chest or make them go through a scavenger hunt or go up in the woods or drink a bottle of vodka? And I just want to put that in there. And then with these fraternities and sororities out here, what really is that? Because it has nothing to do with what Marcus Garvey was speaking of when he was talking about fraternal and the UNIA.
So Desiree, what you're speaking to is modern fraternities and hazing. The UNIA predates any of that, and I've not been aware of any form of hazing. The only qualification processes that we have outside of particular certifications, CPR or firearm certifications. The only qualifications that we really push is orientation and what we're doing now, Message to the People Officers Training. Sister Desiree, does that answer your question?
Oh, yes, it does. We just, sometimes it's about verbiage. And then, because I know there was a comment that was made when the brother was reading and they was talking about the time then and the time now, but there's really not a difference in the time. It may be different players or it may be a little extra technology, but when you realize truth, then you will understand there's really not a change in time. And so we just have to be mindful, not only when we speak to individuals or as well as we speak to our youth, because of this distorted society that we dwell in, that we have to be clear in our verbiage and definitions.
I understand. And that is why we must have a sufficient knowledge base to be able to explain these differences. But those are good. That's a good question. Any other questions before we proceed?
Initially, it would look like he's talking about a parent company, but I guess not really.
What do you mean, from a UNIA, or you talking about
Like sometimes you have one corporation that serves as the parent company, and then there are other companies that extends from that. But I don't think that's how we meant it.
No, think more UNIA would be more of a religious thing, and ACL would be more of the business.
Okay.
Okay, we'll proceed. Number 9, list 2 UNIA businesses from Mr. Garvey's time. There are several we can choose from. I'm just asking for 2. If a new member were to come up to us and say, hey, did Mr. Garvey ever have any businesses in his time? We should be able to spit out, 3 to 5. I'm just asking for 2.
The Black Cross Navigation and Trading Company,
Mm-hmm.
the Negro Factories,
Mm-hmm.
Black
the
Star Line.
Black Star Line.
yes, the
Did you say Negro World Newspaper?
No. All right.
we said the Negro Factories, right?
Yeah, Negro Factory, but also Negro World Newspaper was separate. The Doll Factory, restaurants. So we should commit a few of these businesses to memory, so that we can speak to Mr. Garvey's accomplishments. Questions, comments? Okay. Next question, number 10. Which private individuals are intended to own capital in UNIA businesses? According to lesson 21, Course of African Philosophy.
No, I
No.
thought it was supposed. Oh, sorry.
Who was that? Brother Israel? I want to hear from Brother Israel.
I was saying none. That the only time it should ever be held in a personal capacity is temporarily to transition to the trust or the body writ large.
Excellent. Anyone want to add to that? Nobody want to add to that?
Well, everything goes back to the body of the UNIA.
I just wanted to be clearly understood. Per lesson 21, there should not be private ownership in the capital of the UNIA businesses, per my understanding. Are we clear?
Yes, that's good. And that also creates generational wealth.
Yes, but yeah, we just want to stick to the text, because we can go into that in broad. Next question, what are the two different types of membership in the UNIA? And a bonus is to explain the difference of the two types of membership in the UNIA.
I don't remember the terms per se, but I know there was I'll say just a general membership, which is for folks who are kin folks, for lack of a better term. And then the second membership is like the official dues paying membership.
Absolutely. Excellent, Brother Israel. So all Africans with African blood are members of the UNIA by race. At Mr. Garvey's time, Negro. Anyone considered themselves a Negro or considered a Negro was a part of the UNIA by race. So that again, that blood at the top. It's not about what nation you were born, what language you speak, what religion you have. It's about your tie to the first man and woman of the planet, the mother and father of civilization from the continent that we know of as Africa. So that, from that sense alone, we are already united. We are already a people. Second level, which we seek to encourage, is active membership. Those are those that pay their dues specifically for the upkeep of the organization. And that is, again, we strive to promote that, to be that, and to encourage all of our brothers and sisters to activate their membership in the UNIA. Questions, comments on the two types of membership? And that's very important because we got to look at the Constitution and how the Constitution uses those words, because it'll say things like, this is for members of the UNIA, and we may interpret that to mean active members, but in other areas, it distinguishes the difference between active and non-active. So any African qualifies as a member, anyone with African descent. Any questions?
President John, point of clarification. I'm just curious because I know that a lot has changed between when the material was written and now. There's this whole delineation movement amongst Black Americans and others. And a lot of that protestation has to do with, some Blacks were Native. There's denial of actually having African heritage. So for folks like that who don't necessarily identify with an African heritage, but are Black or Negro, if you will, where do they fall? Is there accommodations that's made for them, or am I just kind of bringing up a small nuance here?
No, that's a great point. I know what you're saying. Native, I think, the acronym FBA is become very popular. ADOS,
Yes, sir.
as well. In our eyes, we see them as brothers and sisters. They may not see us as brothers and sisters, with them. Again, it all goes back to ancestry and where we claim, the source of humanity, that level of ancestry. And we feel, humanity started in Africa, was cultivated in Africa, civilization first developed in Africa, and we believe that those, original people scattered themselves throughout the rest of the planet. If others, and that's the tie that it's about, is where do we think, all of this stuff started and became great. And if brothers and sisters feel that happened here and it started here, I understand that, but I disagree.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Race first.
Race first, Brother Mason, Race Vice President.
Yep, still sorry I'm late. But I wanted to speak to that comment too.
Please be brief, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's important to be aware of the reason why, and most of the time is because they want to claim rights to the resources that are here in this land. So for us being self-reliant individuals and focus on the resources that we can provide and bring forward, I think that creates a difference.
There's definitely resources is a part of it. Sister Desiree, I saw you had your hand. You want to comment on this?
Oh yeah, but so here we go with that again. All right, so like you said, that our ancestors, all right, we already know that civilization began in the motherland, right? And through the colonialism, they had this and that. But just like you go on vacation at work, right? Why did our ancestors cannot go vacation somewhere else? And it would be selfish altogether if anybody believes in any God, whatever they want to call God's name, to the point that, so he only decided, hey, I got all this power right here, so I'm only going to put some people here, some people there, some people over here, right? And I think that's that altogether, when you talk about the power of God, but then you turn around and you put God in a box. So when our ancestors, when they sit over here and they tell you that they was here in the Americas and they turned over and time again dealing with indigenous people, then showed you the proof of that. I can go back to documentaries right now of elders, right? Elders old enough to be our grandparents and stuff. They said, we really don't know, but we know about that water. We know about the water, and they can relate to the chemical coming out of the water, right? We were here. We are everywhere. Even if you look at science, we are there. Where are we not is there. Even when you turn around and you open that Bible up and it said that the world was dark and then I brought light. Light of what? What are you speaking of? Right? Civilizations. So you can have animals that can't even speak, that does not have the free will of God, that can be all over this world, whether you can walk to it, fly to it, take a boat to it, or anything else. But we can as human beings. So the only thing we got is them telling us that we came on a slave ship. Well, you already know the technology and everything that our ancestors did way before there was a Marcus Garvey, right? Playing it safe, going over here, and still not giving the credibility that goes to our ancestors. We are the scientists. We are the developers. We are this. The only reason why we are losing is because you forgot who you are. We forgot who we are. We forgot who we are. And nobody wants to talk about anything spiritual. Nobody wants to say nothing about meditation. If you don't know, you could go deal with Rastafarians in Jamaica. Even they have a meditation or whatever they do.
Sister Desiree.
Comes to that, I'm just saying though. So don't knock the brothers and sisters because they got their history too. You have to understand that our history and everything else is getting ready to get screwed up in this country because by the time your children, your grandchildren get older, they're going to see a white man up there talking about that's Marcus Garvey. They're doing it right, trying to do it right now.
I understand what you're saying, Sister Desiree. To be clear, we're not putting anyone down. I don't want that to be misunderstood. But I think a key word that you said is history. And studying the history, and being clear on our positions of what we understand, in regards to history. And we should be able to leave it there. There shouldn't be any disagreement once we bring up the history. So I would like to proceed. We talked about two different types of membership. As Garvey said in his time, anyone that had, was considered of Negro blood is a ordinary member, and those that pay dues would be active members. And again, only those of Negro blood or African are qualified, or African blood, black blood, are qualified to be active members in the first place. All right, next question. True or false? All properties of the UNIA and associate business corporation, companies, or enterprises are held in trust for the Negro race.
True.
It's a true statement. That's something Mr. Garvey said. All properties of the UNIA and associate business corporations, companies, and enterprises are held in trust for the Negro race. Yes, I'm pretty sure that is a true statement. So Desiree, do you have it in the text?
Nope, I don't have any text, but I can go back to Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory was talking about that a long time ago.
Sister
If you look at,
Desiree,
okay,
Sister Desiree.
no. But anyway, if you go back, you have to read the book. Marcus Garvey already talked about having the trust, not only dealing with commercial industrial transaction, but he also talked about when saving money and all kind of stuff. Let me go back there. So, like I said, reading the message to the people, everything goes together. So, I guess by the time you got to the end, you should already know the answer to the question because he already told you through the lessons. So let's go to the lessons, about give me a second because I have to go back. But I think when he was talking about business, hold up, let me see.
Mr. Desiree, we're going all over the place. We're just going through lesson 21. We're wrapping up.
Well, he already covered that. Yes, trust is it. He covered it already. I was trying to show you how he covered it, but he also told you about having it in trust.
Okay, thank you, Sister Desiree. On page 167, lesson 21, history of the UNIA. Mr. Garvey says the association is to boast and maintain an interest in every Negro, irrespective of his nationality or his condition, as long as he is not proved a traitor to the race and outlawed as such. Then he says clearly all the properties of the UNIA and associate business corporations, companies, or enterprises are held in trust for the Negro race and the relationship of the race through the active membership in the organization, as explained above, as Sister Desiree alluded to. So very straightforward. The answer is true. If there aren't any questions, we will proceed to the next. But the Negro race, the future progeny, is what we are doing this for. And yes. All right. If you visit a division of the organization as an official representative of the parent body, who is the superior office and what is their purpose? If you visit a division of the organization as an official representative of the parent body, who is the superior officer and what is their purpose? Brother Israel?
I know the visitor is superior officer, and I don't know the exact language, but I know that part of the purpose was to advance the body and support the local delegation.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Brother Israel. So the visiting officer, the representative of the parent body would be the superior. That makes sense. Their purpose? Only purpose I can think of is representing the parent body and what, abiding by the Constitution. So this is at the bottom of page 167, going into 168. So this is for our delegates and traveling leadership. Oh.
Okay. So you should see that all things are conducted in the proper way in your presence, in accordance with the Constitution.
Yeah, there we go. I knew there was something. When you visit a division of the organization as an official of and this is on page 168, you are the superior officer. You shall then see that all things are conducted in a proper way. What is a proper way? In your presence, in accordance with the Constitution. So that is the key thing. As we travel, as we represent the parent body, we should understand that our main objective is that the Constitution is being followed. Any questions or comments on that? And you will be the superior officer, so there aren't any questions as to, your criticism of decorum or order. Any questions, comments before we proceed? Following Constitution. All right. What are some of the arguments for the continuation, perpetuation, and support of the UNIA? What are some things why should people support and make sure the UNIA continues? What are some arguments that Mr. Garvey gave or that we can use beyond what's listed in the text? It's a couple.
Continue it to uplift the race.
Continue to uplift the race. That's one we just made up, isn't it?
That I just made up?
Yeah.
No.
That's in the book.
Oh. I mean, it just seems like that's something we will always do.
Yes, but okay, more so in the book then, since we
Okay.
go with outer space. What is the UNIA? What is the UNIA taught us? What is Mr. Garvey taught us? What have we learned in regards to the race? And what are the accomplishments that we've achieved?
Well, I got this right here. Never cease in your efforts to influence a Negro to join the association until he is joined. That's not it either, is it? But my thing was, it's kind of like common sense. I probably don't know the right word to say it, whatever. But after all this work he put in to all this and all these people he put together, why wouldn't he want you to keep going on, right? Because he had a vision, and the vision was working very well to the point that in his time, if I'm correct, he was the UNIA was the only organization that had that many members. And I think they exceeded the Nation of Islam. So why wouldn't you keep it going? Because there was success everywhere across the board.
Yes. Thank you, Sister Desiree. Officers, again, this should be clear information. Oh, shoot, I went the wrong way. Page 173, lesson 21 is the title of the section is Arguments for the Continuation, Perpetuation, and Support of the UNIA. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20 something? Okay, more than 20. Okay. It's
34.
34 separate items. I'm just asking for one or two and we're struggling. So it's not something we have to commit to memory, but again, as brothers and sisters are asking about the UNIA, what we have done, why it's important to support us. Not all of this can be considered update or valid, but again, that word history doesn't change. And what has been done has been done. So for us to not stand on that wouldn't necessarily be intelligent. And I mean things like the creation of the red, black, and green in 1920, the Declaration of Rights of Negro Peoples of the world. These things happened, and there's no way to represent that in a different way. So we should stand on that. Whereas modern day things such as some of the achievements that the UNIA has made in regards to economics and stocks and dividends, these are modern things that we can speak to. But a couple things, UNIA has stirred the entire world of Negroes to a consciousness of race pride which never existed before. That seems pretty important. UNI has given Negroes throughout the world a program of racial nationalism, which never existed before. Association calls Negroes to recognize their common origins as Africans and their African descent. So that's one that could be debatable. Calls all other peoples to recognize the national aspirations of the Negro and place the Negroes' cause before the League of Nations and Versailles Peace Conference. So taking the claim that, we stood up and caused us as a people to look at ourselves and to speak for ourselves on these world platforms. Where is, I think one of our ones we talked about is a 1716. It calls other races to spell the word Negro with a capital N. So prior to the UNIA, the UNIA or Negro was spelled with a lowercase n. That's not something that we necessarily, toot or necessarily route or cheer about right now, but it's still a fact of history. UNIA gave the Negro a national flag and national hymn. That's very important. That's something that still exists and we should still promote. Taught the Negroes self-respect for their race, but loving ourselves, respecting ourselves, brought courage to the race throughout the world. But y'all get where I'm going. This is basic information. Again, this is orientation stuff, and this is listed specifically by Mr. Garvey in the text. As we said, up to 34 particular items that Mr. Garvey took his time to write out. I think we should commit a few of these to memory as we work to rebuild the organization. And again, this is perfect. Mr. Garvey's a genius. He details it. This is the work from 1917 to 1937. So if we want to update this, that's on us. We can say what we've done since 2020 or 2015 or whatever may be 2025 moving forward. But this is specific. This is history. So this is things that we can claim from Mr. Garvey's time. Any questions or comments on arguments for the continuation, perpetuation, and support of the UNIA?
I have a comment, and
Yes.
I agree with you that how we can turn around, because this is history, and we can turn around and say, hey, this is what we have done. This is what we have accomplished, right? And I love that, and I like that. Yeah. Big up to you, President John. Ever since I know you, always been fair, humane, and just.
Thank you. Was that all, sister? I thought you were gonna say a but somewhere in there.
Oh, well, and I love it. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that Marcus Garvey talked about, even as we go on, and one of the reasons why I appreciate, and it's not even about the members of the UNIA. When I actually started reading what Marcus Garvey was speaking about, that was enough for me, right? Just listening, well, in my own ears, and understanding what he was reading. And then when I turned around, I got that book over there. I said, oh, we got some maroon in us, right? That's another reason why, we have to get off of that ship, right? Because not only was slaves being taken from the motherland, slaves was being taken from the Americas to go to other countries, Jamaica, Barbados, Bahamas, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, all kind of stuff. Everything was going on. But the thing that kills me about brothers and sisters is that that's all you look at, right? That was a period of time in history. But what about what happened before then? Right? What happened about what our ancestors was doing before then? Right? So even as we look at Marcus Garvey, or we look at Haile Selassie, because don't forget, when he first took office, he was the age of 14. Okay? Where did all that energy come from? It came through what? Your DNA. Your DNA. And I don't care what anybody tell you, when it goes back to science, the only woman that can carry the mitochondria cell is a Black woman.
Thank
But
yes.
anyway, that's here, no there. But the thing is, and I got the proof to show it, whoever wants to come up on me with that one.
Thank you, Sister Desiree. We got 2 more slides. We got a couple more questions. We'll try to run through these. 15, what should we do when we come across responsible people of our race?
Encourage them to join the UNIA.
That's a good one. Seems obvious. Anyone else? I really don't even know what the answer to this one is. Let me see. Got it listed here? No, I don't.
I think it's the section where he was saying, like, start with the business leaders because they will, like, like help lead the rest of the community in.
What was the word I used? Responsible. I think that might be a little too. Search for that. I'm trying to see.
All right. Ask me the question again.
What's the question? We do when we encounter a responsible member of the race? I'm not able to find it, but I thought it was something about take their name or something like that. But encouraging them to
It was about what? Wait a minute, hold up. You said take their name.
Yes.
And you know what? That's probably right. Because when you're around, exquisite brothers and sisters, especially in the UNIA, not that that's the only place that I met brothers and sisters, but just like they turn around. See, I can look at it like just like they turn around and you do the little Greek thing, or at one time you had like the business card on there. But yeah, and if he said take the name, I would like to go a little further. Why would he say take the name?
Well, Sister Desiree, may I read? May I read it? Well, I'm going to read it. Take info, yes. First, previous paragraph, Mr. Garvey says you should know all the people of your race in your street, in your neighborhood, and in your town. Approach them in your leisure hours one by one to convert them to the organization and get support from them for the organization. So that goes to Brother Israel's point, which makes sense. Then next paragraph, he says, where you come across responsible people of the race, take their names, profession, and address after talking to them about the association, and send the same in a weekly report or monthly report to the President General's office at headquarters. Ask the President General to communicate with these persons in the manner you think would best help to clinch the support of the persons for the organization. In your town, secure the names, the address, and profession of all responsible people, doctors, lawyers, merchants, preachers. Send these names to headquarters with comments about each person for the headquarters to influence these persons to support the organization. So responsible brothers and sisters, Mr. Garvey says, document record and encourage leadership to assist with membership, basically. Questions, comments on responsible members of our race?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
So, what is the definition of responsible people of the race?
I think that's subjective. I think that's for each of us individually to be able to understand and interpret. You know, I don't think there's a clear template for that, but we should understand, brothers and sisters, that are striving to, take care of themselves and their responsibilities, their families, and better themselves. I think that's generally how I would define it.
Well, we can go back to lesson 7 when it talks about character. Marcus Garvey covered that too.
So you're saying
lesson 7, and he also covered in lesson 2 when he went into leadership.
Leadership, yes. Those are specific characteristics that would build into general responsible, but I would argue that those could go beyond general responsibility, personally. But that's just me. But I think that's a very subjective. We can go there. We can talk about that. We all each would have a different definition of a responsible person.
Well, we got a little time. Let's hear from the panel. What's everybody's definition of what a responsible a black person is in our race?
Desiree,
I would like to hear that.
Sister Desiree, it's almost 11 o'clock here on the East Coast. We do not have that kind of time. And we still got to read lesson 22.
Right.
Okay. No, quite brief. Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna say he does give examples though in the text that we can mention doctors, lawyers, preachers, etc. So it gives an example to give us a comparison to draw upon.
Well, that's professions. I'm talking about character. You talking about
in context.
That's you talking about character. Responsibility goes deeper.
Just to wrap it up in context
It's
of what the lesson is about.
subjective.
Right. Just to wrap up the context about the lesson, what the lesson is about, the context that he used, he mentioned professional people.
Correct. That is true.
Well, he used some professions, but also he had to be deeper than that, because if you go back to what he wrote all together, it's like he's giving brothers and sisters subliminal messages, but nobody's really reading it for real.
Yeah, but Sister Desiree, just to be clear, and Brother Macy's great point. I think, brother, in regards to the context of this lesson and this paragraph that we are dissecting, Mr. Garvey does further emphasize responsible. He says, in your town, secure the names, addresses, and professions of all responsible people. So he starts there, then he elaborates doctors, lawyers, merchants, preachers, etc. That would be, Mr. Garvey's further expounding on responsible people for this paragraph. That's why I was trying to be more general, but specifically, this is what the examples that we have.
All right, can I make one comment and leave it alone? Now, when you look at this right here, maybe, no, I'm serious. All right, it says people, doctors, lawyers, merchants, preachers. All right, that probably have to be readjusted right there, because like you said, as we go into new life, new world, look what the doctors have done. Them doctors have turned around and made it so that a black woman can't have a baby You know what I'm saying? She going in to have a baby. They turn around and give her a hysterectomy. You know what I'm saying? Or she go in there and her baby may not even come back home safe or alive because they turn around and practicing all that stuff, putting stuff in our children's eyes or whatever. We should be having our children at home. Then you talk about these lawyers. Other people say that, hey, we can't be on an ambulance chasing. We can't do all this other stuff when brothers and sisters be going through everything. But then they turn around, want to flash their name and hire whatever, get their millions. But what have they contribute to our communities? Merchants. The merchants. Look, they get so tired. Brothers and sisters get tired of other brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? Because they turn around, even as you being a brother and sister, you want to turn around and act like my oppressor instead of acting like my brother and sister, right? And then you talk about these preachers. How many preachers we got on the list right now can't even be trusted in their neighborhood, right? They're not them same preachers that was back in the day when it was the black church that was before any Black Panther Party or anything else you're going to talk about when it came to revolution. Let's go back to Nat Turner. I'm just saying.
Sister Desiree, I understand what you are saying, but again, from the text standpoint, these are the examples that Mr. Garvey gave. As you said, this lesson and this course is comprehensive. And those that have gone through this course understand what Mr. Garvey implies when I use the word financial responsibility. And when we look at lesson 22, the 5-year plan, that financial responsibility will begin to make more sense. But I would argue that these were the individuals that Mr. Garvey and his experience could depend on from an economic standpoint. Okay.
Exactly.
I was just,
So, well, go ahead on Macy. I apologize.
I just want to add also another context of it too, because in the context of organizing an organization, which is our main focus of what we should be doing. Most of these individuals too are the leaders of organizations. Even if a merchant has a business, he has people under him. So as we organize leaders of organizations, it sometimes becomes easier, or people who have influence over a lot of people as well. So that influence these people have over the communities will also help us organize a larger number at one time as well, by sometimes getting head of organizations like preachers. You get the preacher, sometimes you get the whole church. So in the context of organizing, sometimes that benefit could benefit. That makes sense.
Thank you, Brother Macy's. Again, we want to try to get through this and get to the last lesson.
Well, let me ask old Macy's one question. Even with that benefit, what if you, because of the benefit and they doing stuff in the community, but they doing stuff in the community that does not agree with just the morals and values alone of the UNIA? You know what I'm saying? What do you do with that? Do you still turn around and say, hey, I'm going to do this and that? Or, or you're going to have to look for another objective?
I get your question. Well, I think it's just about we can focus on individual types of preachers that necessarily would be the bad one, or merchants, lawyers, like you named. Like throwing a baby out with the bathwater. Yes, yeah, you'll have some good apples, some bad apples, but what we're talking about is the type of people for a reason, because of that influence that these type of people have. So yeah, there are going to be some, but we can't say because some are bad, all will be. Especially when we're talking about black preachers, black doctors, black lawyers. Some of them don't have that same negative impact that you described earlier towards our community. Yeah.
All right, brothers. This is again, it's getting late. We want to wrap this up. Question 16. Nothing invites antagonism more than what? Nothing invites antagonism more than what? I think I remember this. All right. Got to get our books out. Page 16. Oh no, 160. Right, 179. Never overstep your authority in dealing with division as a representative of a parent body. So as we're going out to represent the parent body and make sure the Constitution is being upheld, never overstep our authority. Never attempt to show your grand superiority to the displeasure of members of the division or officers of the division. Be as modest, yet as firm as you can in your dealings. Nothing invites antagonism more than an arrogant and unreasonable display of power. Most powerful people in the world are most modest when dealing with those whose goodwill they depend on. I think that was the next question I had too. Yeah. Next question was no matter. Most powerful people in the world are the most blank when dealing with those whose goodwill they depend on, and the word is modest. So arrogant display of power invites antagonism, and most powerful people in the world are the most modest when dealing with those whose goodwill they depend on. Any questions, comments so far?
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
All right. Even with modesty, because everything, there's different levels of antagonism, because, when it goes back to our history, we've been antagonized all our being. So where does the level of modesty actually separate itself to the point that, hey, you know what I'm saying? I heard this before, and hey, I'm not trying to hear this again. This what happened dealing with the Tea Party, but I'm just saying. So it has to be a balance and also a level of the antagonism that our brothers and sisters should endure, right? And with that balance, whether it's over here on the left side and brothers and sisters want to do, they have ideas to do this, and you got brothers and sisters to do ideas over here. I think that it is humane for us to sit down and have an actually table where we put all of these Black organizations together and bring all the heads of all these organizations. I mean, every last one of them, even the small ones that you do not see, because they don't get any pull, or maybe they felt like they wasn't appreciated or loved by other organizations, and they decided, hey, I'm going to create mine. And just because they create theirs doesn't make it wrong. It makes it absolutely right, because that goes back to our history, that goes back to our foundation, that goes back to revolutionary altogether. When you think for yourself that you want more, need more, tired of looking at the suppression of the oppression of your brothers and sisters. And it has nothing to do with any of these leaders that we speak of. You know where it begins at? It begins all the way from the top, and that breath that you breathe because you are melanated. It's a lot when it comes to the red, black, and green, the definition of what it is. And it's bigger than a Marcus Garvey. This is a blueprint. It should be heeded to make you think. Open that brain up of yours. Go higher. into your elevation of life. Stop thinking petty thoughts. Think.
Just Desiree, does it have anything to do with the questions we just asked?
Okay. Well, anyway, so yeah. So antagonism is like this. Brothers and sisters is tired of level 1 of antagonism. And that goes for 2025.
Yes. What does that have to do with what Mr. Garvey is communicating in the lesson? Sister Desiree?
All right, so he says never overstep your authority in dealing with division as a representative of the parent body. Never attempt to show your grand superiority to the displeasure of members of the division or officers of the division. Be as modest yet as firm as you can in your dealings. And so, what are these things that I'm talking about? I'm saying that you can agree that. That can be that. But just because you can still be calm and relaxed when you getting ready to take out your enemy. Who says you have to be hostile and frustrated and angry? That is building up adrenaline, and you already know them jokers be eating us. So when you get that adrenaline to the highest state of what they want to put you at and how they begin putting you there, it's called fear. That builds the adrenaline, them testosterones inside of your body. Why do you think them motherfuckers be out there when they got brothers and sisters? I apologize for my language. When they have brothers and sisters, they want you to come out and rally. Because if they kill you, you may not make it anywhere, but they're going to take you somewhere and they're going to eat you. But that's a whole nother subject.
Okay, thank you, Sister Desiree. This is not talking about enemies. Any questions before let me read the paragraph in context. Again, this is for leadership dealing with disagreements amongst divisions. Mr. Garvey says, never overstep your authority in dealing with a division as a representative of the parent body. Many of us have never been and never will be in this position, so it's not necessarily something that we have to worry about. But for those that have been or will be in that position, these are things that we should consider from Mr. Garvey. He says, never attempt to show your grand superiority to the displeasure of members of the division or officers of the division. Be as modest yet as firm as you can in your dealings. Nothing invites antagonism, than an arrogant and unreasonable display of power. The most powerful people in the world are the most modest when dealing with those whose goodwill they depend on. They know how much immodesty offends others. Never try to be offensive. Never threaten others, but reason with them. To threaten an officer or a member is to invite antagonism and belligerence, which will make your task more difficult. So we have enough obstacles and oppression to fight against and work against. We don't have time or energy, to be wasting that energy on our own people. So let's try to be as cooperative as we can, and as Mr. Garvey says, modest but firm in our dealings. Brother Israel.
Just very briefly, brother, I think that too probably stems out of the experience he had with Tuskegee, and especially with W.E.B. Du Bois, and how rude he was in his reception of Garvey when he met him at Harvard. And so I think that's a great lesson that should permeate through how we interact one with another.
Yes, sir. A little after 11, let's try to wrap this up. Next question, very important question. Number 18, what is our chief aim as officers of the UNIA? I don't even know the answer to this question. I'm going to have to look. What is our chief aim as officers of the UNIA?
Your chief aim must B, to organize every man, woman, and child.
Hmm.
With all this material and possibilities, you cannot make the UNIA succeed in that community. You yourself as a colossal failure and not the people. The greatest recognition of your merit and ability will be reflected by the number of people.
Slow down.
Right.
I think you answered the next question. Chief aim must be to organize every man, woman, and child. That is our chief aim. So sometimes, when we talked about lesson 3, Mr. Garvey mentioned the word aim and what is the aim of the UNIA. Now he's saying the chief aim, according to lesson 21, is to organize every man, woman, and child. Questions, comments on that? And
Yeah,
again,
to your best ability, because we just went over again about dealing with responsible people. And then, when he was talking about the antagonism, I understand what he was saying about that, because he's actually talking about what's inside of the family body. But here we go again. So to organize every man, woman, and child, right? So what's the counteract? Because everything is a yin and a yang, right? So even in between of organizing, because there's stipulations in here, especially dealing with character, being a leader, or however, whatever. So the thing is, what happens with the UNIA or trying to actually organize every woman and child and come into, ungod forsaken situation?
we may have lost Sister Desiree. She went on mute.
No, I'm saying, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So my question is, with us organizing every man, woman, and child, what is the recommendations when we go back to dealing with character, when we go back to certain situations, when we go back having a definition of what is a responsible Black woman or Black man? How do you keep
Sister
that?
Desiree, again, it's I keep having to mention the time and the urgency to complete. At this point, we either have to accept whether we agree or disagree with what Mr. Garvey has stated. Do we feel that our chief aim is to organize every man, woman, and child? That's a yes or no question, and we can move on.
All right, yes. But, with all the fine print.
Thank you. That's not a problem. We can discuss the fine print at another time. We need to, let's be clear and wrap this up. Next question. What is the greatest recognition of your merit and ability as a UNIA officer? So what should we be seeking to complete or to achieve in regards to our recognition?
Nationhood for our people.
In a sense. In a sense. Mr. Garvey says, and Sister Desiree was reading into this, the greatest recognition of your merit and ability will be reflected by the number of men or number of people, sorry, who are members of the association in your community, district, town, or state. Their activities will testify to your greater activity in their midst. So it's not necessarily about what you can do or what you can achieve as an individual. It's about what we can build and what we can organize. So that is the measuring stick, and that is the level to the way to show our expertise in this knowledge is to utilize it to build and grow our numbers. Questions, comments on that? Very important point.
Yes, and I just want to say that I'm glad Brother Omasius is having his business class meeting. and hopefully he can put that in the chat so we can be in that meeting prior to the meeting afterwards. Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you, Sister Desiree. 5 more questions. Number 20, when is the best time to call on people for support?
After mealtime.
After a meal, yeah. I don't know if this was late at night, but Garvey didn't really have phones like that, so after a meal, I'm sure. Any questions or comments on that? We clear. The human senses are the priority. So tiredness and hunger or thirst are all one and the same. If individuals have those priorities, they're not really going to want to sit and hear what it is that you have to say. So don't try to speak when people are tired, and don't try to speak to people when they are hungry. Okay. I'm sorry. Showing, looking at the wrong thing. What are the conditions where the UNIA can receive funds outside of the Negro race?
So long as those funds are not tied to any type of quid pro quo or give the person granting that money any type of influence over the organization.
Yes, that is part of it. There's another part of it as well. Thank you, Brother Israel. So if we were to receive funds from outside of our race as we are intended and designed, what are the stipulations that come along with receiving those funds?
Oh, we must put a cross next to their name?
Yes. Yep. That's it. Their name, they must be identified so that leadership doesn't send them information as if they were of the race. So yes, thank you, Brother Israel. No return for the gifts received. No, political. We shouldn't be held, bribed politically, which we mentioned in the earlier lessons. Um, um, and yeah, if individuals outside of our race do contribute funds for whatever sense, we identify them in our records to make sure that any information isn't improperly sent to them. Questions, comments on that?
Yeah, I have a question and comment. Well, do you really think that's appropriate? But maybe it is, you know what I'm saying? Because I work on the plantation and then I turn around, I donate the money I make on the plantation, I donate to black owned businesses or whatever, right? But yeah, I don't know. Even with that, what I'm saying, it's still dirty and we have to do a ritual over it. Not only should we be turning that cross upside down, putting that unk on it, if anybody outside race try to give us anything, we have to do a ritual on that to get their energy out of there. Even the money they give. Them jokers put their energy on there and they doing all stuff. If you think them troglodytes is not practicing all see, they get everything from us. They turn around and they utilize all our stuff and they use
Sister
it against
Desiree, Sister Desiree. Again, you're getting long-winded. We're trying to wrap up. Brother Israel made a great point, stuck to the text and what was in the text, and we will recap that briefly and go to the next question. And again, this is all in context. The title of the next lesson is the 5-year plan. And some of what we are reading now goes into some of the strategies that we will need for the 5-year plan. So we must be patient with some of the information. Mr. Garvey says at the bottom of page 183, contributions to the UNIA should be generally accepted from Negroes, but where other people of other races can be approached and are willing to give, such help may be accepted. but without any strings attached or promises made that would in any way compromise the clear-cut intelligence of the policy of the UNIA. So that's that quid pro quo political bribery. And then he says in the next paragraph, and this actually came up recently. This past weekend, we were having a gathering amongst leadership, and we were talking about fundraiser, and we were talking about funds outside, potentially, if we did some internet stuff and we got funds outside of the race, what would happen and all of that stuff. And we actually had to bring up this lesson here in this paragraph here. Mr. Garvey says, whenever donations are accepted from other races, the names of such persons, when registered on the same account of donations as that of Negroes, must be marked with a cross. And when such donations are being forwarded to the parent body, an explanation must be given stated that such a person is a member of the white race or other race or whatever race that person may be, so that no communication of a private nature will be sent to that person, which reveals the business of the UNIA. It's very important because by not distinguishing between the donors, such persons may be written to as if they are members of the UNIA, may be sent communications that may have no right to receive. Brother Israel, closing question.
Yes, sir. Very briefly, but and maybe even not a question for now, but just something for high of mind. The racial nature has come under attack, like the young ladies with the venture capitalist fund for Black women. I'm just and again, brother, I probably will hold that question until another time, but just curious about how that might apply and how we might protect ourselves from such attacks.
That would be a Thursday discussion. Great question.
Yes, sir.
And I would like to elaborate as well, but due to time, please. Thank you.
But I still don't agree with those donations.
Mr. Desiree, we can elaborate on that at another time. Again, this is not about our personal opinions. This is about understanding what Mr. Garvey communicated in this text.
But wouldn't it be good to have a good old-fashioned debate?
Yes, at another time, that would be fine. We can debate all of these topics that have come up. For now, what type of people should we never hang around?
Ignorant.
Ignorant. I think that's
despondent, dejected, just people of bad character and in an ill state of life.
Yeah, earlier he mentioned in lesson 1, ignorance and not being around ignorant individuals. Make sure you're around individuals you can learn from. Approaching people of the race, your argument.
Sell out.
But in this lesson, I believe to Brother Israel point, he was speaking more so to what I would call energy vampires or just people that are negative. Whenever you make an appeal, I can't find it now. Okay, here it is. Oh my gosh, Mr. Garvey. We talked about intelligence. Now we'll talk about energy. 185, bottom page 185. Always trying to find a right way. Never hang around people who are always discouraged, despondent, poverty-stricken, poor, and never do well. So some of that is economic state or financial state as well. You will ultimately become like them. Try to get around cheery people, happy people, prosperous people. And you will unconsciously take on their prosperous and their prosperity and their happiness. Everybody understand that? Any questions or comments in regards to the understanding of what Mr. Garvey's communicating?
Yeah, I have a comment. So, okay. So it says always trying to find the right way. Never hang around people who are discouraged, despondent, poverty-stricken, poor, never to do well. You will ultimately become like that.
Yeah.
So when we talk about economics altogether, through gentrification, everything else, brothers and sisters, economics. We're not even just going to talk about just the recent stuff that they did when it came to the economics. during COVID that you know them jokers brought here. We're not even gonna talk about the economics they have destroyed when it comes to the Black Wall Street. That was another economics. As far as the Reconstruction era, you know what I'm saying? Because we've constantly have been resilient. So a brother or sister may get discouraged. They may get despondent. They may be poverty stricken, poor, and maybe through depression feel like they can't do a little more.
Mm-hmm.
So again, with any organization, when it comes to that, we have to also address those issues. So every situation is different, right? And it goes by opinion again, because what may be poverty stricken to you may not be poverty stricken to me, right?
Yes, sister.
Everybody handles however, whatever. So yeah, that needs to be adjusted too. And I'm not trying to change the book, but like you said, we have to come in the end time so brothers and sisters know what's going on.
Understand, Sister Desiree. One phrase which should be noted is the word always. Mr. Garvey is not saying that we won't be in contact, or our loved ones won't be in these situations in times. But if individuals are always discouraged, always despondent, you've known them for 10, 20 years, always poverty stricken, never been able to do well, Mr. Garvey is not encouraging you to build a peer group of those types of individuals, because that behavior and that really their reality will become your reality. So for us as leaders, Mr. Garvey is re-emphasizing for us to not constantly. I think he uses that phrase in lesson one, not to be in the constant company of certain individuals. And now he's saying never hang around people who are always in these conditions. So we understand that these things will happen. But for us to, at this point, with this level of knowledge, to continue to put ourselves in the company with individuals that display these characteristics, we take on that responsibility at that point. It's no longer an excuse or look what this person did. We have knowledge to do better. So always is a key word to take away.
All right, so always. All right, so again, we're talking about
Desiree, Sister Desiree.
No, I'm just saying though, because
Sister Desiree, I'm
all
saying,
right, sounds
Sister
good.
Desiree,
I got you. Yeah,
it's
we're on
11:24 p.m. Okay, last couple questions. Uh, why must great care be taken in watching and controlling the actions of the African Legion?
I don't know directly native to the text, but I can remember to the extent that it was just to keep us protected, like that. In general, such organizations should insulate themselves from, certain accusations and just certain actions, period. But especially those amongst our race, considering the over interest that will be had in such an organization.
Yes, I'll speak to this so we can move. But we must understand the relationship that we must obtain with the quote unquote powers that be, or the ruling powers. Even when Mr. Garvey talked about earlier in this lesson, the UNIA itself had to be incorporated. In order to be incorporated, that's a relationship or process of approval in the state or nation in which you reside. And that's always been the case for organizations here in the United States. Even if we claim to obtain some land, that's land that we purchase from the United States. So that would be an agreement, and we've maintained that land through an agreement of taxes. So we've always had a nation within the nation reality. And for us not to acknowledge that as leadership is foolish. So what Mr. Garvey is saying is we got to be careful with our legion. We understand our legion is quote unquote militant, the militant arm, but their actions can be a detriment to the organization as a whole. If the Legion goes wayward and does some things on their own and causes some not physical, but some city destruction, a sign or whatever, a mailbox, let's say a mailbox is knocked over, that can be pulled back to the organization, whereas the organization itself had nothing to do with it, but the Legion took it upon themselves to feel that, hey, the city, this need to be done. The city need to feel us. So we got to be careful with our Legion, their actions, and our relationship with, the governments in which we reside. Questions, comments on that should be clear.
Yes, I do have a comment. And I agree with you when you say that within the organization, you can't get, you don't have permission to do this and that, blah, 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 because we have to keep everything together. Now, something that I did not agree with, though, was the fact that we have to turn around. Now, I know about the trust situation. I know about that. But again, we're turning around and we have to make these allegiance, right? But the only actually allegiance, even you go back to the preamble, it talks about being the humanitarian, right? So we talked about the vampires, we talked about all that stuff. So what kind of allegiance am I really making with you? I think the only allegiance, even when it goes back to the preamble or anything else, is letting them know who we are if it has to get to that point. You know what I'm saying? Because we already know we have it. A lot of this stuff have to be revamped or whatever, but it still goes back to the same thing about the right of self-determination, right? It still goes back to that, right? And I think that some other things that need to be examined with that as well, right? And yeah. So with that, I disagree with some of it, but I agree with other things. And I do agree with, what you were saying as far as, just different things. But anyway, we're here or whatever, but I don't know. We got to do better, brothers and sisters. And it's actually deeper than all of that. And I'm telling you, they have a plan for us.
Sister
And if we don't,
Desiree,
okay, yeah. All right, I'm good.
last question. Why should we keep a close eye on African princes, chiefs, and princesses who come to the UNIA meetings?
As Brother Garvey described, those folks travel under diplomatic delegations and travel under the invite of the state and have their own arrangements, and thus it would not make sense that they would need to coordinate through us at this point.
Very clear, Brother Israel. If someone really was of that position, they wouldn't be. We don't think, according to Mr. Garvey, they wouldn't be attending our meetings personally themselves. There would be some form of representation and delegation. So we can't be falling for that. I think that's all I got. I think we'll talk Legion more specific. Does anybody remember where Mr. Garvey talked about the purpose of the Legion?
I want to ask one question. So, all right. So, we went to UNIA, and there are princesses or kings, queens, or whatever, and we doing everything that we supposed to be doing in the Americas. As far as I have bigger ideas with that. So you're trying to say that after we do all that needs to be done, that we need to take care of right here where we put our feet on, that prince or princess or king and queen wouldn't want to sit down with us? I would think if we get this right, they're going to want to sit down with us.
Oh no, so I said at this point, to that point, that when we succeed, that's just inevitable. But at this point, those folks typically would travel through the state, through the United States, and through those apparatuses.
Yeah. I mean, it's straightforward for many of us. I think unfortunately, and I don't want to be too specific, but the concept of foreign kings, sending you an email asking you for assistance, and they will provide you some assistance, I think is a sentiment that what Mr. Garvey is speaking to. If these individuals really were who they say they were, there will be a higher form of communication and delegation. That's all. Now, in regards to the Legion, and we'll end here. Let's see. In dealing with divisions, first recognize officers of the division according to the Constitution. Legions, Black Cross Nurses, Motor Corp, all of the auxiliaries must be obedient to the officers of the division. Great care must be taken in watching and controlling the activities of the legions, because in ignorance, they are apt to get the division or organization in trouble by trying to exercise authority while they are only members of an organization registered by the state. So the diplomacy. Legion's function is more physical, cultural, and disciplinary than anything else. Those were the words I wanted everyone to remember. And for our Legion, those are some principles that we should understand to be primary. So any questions or comments? That's all I got for history. I don't know if I got I don't think I had all the questions, but we don't have time for all the questions anyway. So yeah, we definitely don't. Any questions or comments on lesson 21?
No, I just love that end part there, brother, where he says also don't entertain people claiming to be God.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it all relates.
Wait a minute, President John. Wait a minute, Brother Israel. When people say they're talking about the God and the goddesses, what do you mean? I know you're not saying, well.
No, we mean somebody taking on a personality of some other to say that they're Christ or they're John the Baptist, not acknowledging the deity that we all contend. Yeah.
Hey, look, did you guys see when they was putting those clouds in the sky saying that Jesus was coming back? First of all, they had the wrong color, the wrong texture of hair.
No, I wouldn't know. Again, that's off topic, Sister Desiree. All right. If there aren't any questions, y'all think we got time to read the last lesson? Since everybody's here.
Yeah.
Brother Mason, you want to help me out?
Yeah. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
All right. Lesson 22, the 5-year plan of the UNIA. 1934, the International Convention of the UNIA held at Eldwise Park Crossroads, St. Andrew, Jamaica, BWI, The President General of the Association presented to the convention in session the 5-year plan scheme as the most possible and practical scheme through which the association could rehabilitate itself and carry out the major objects of the organization. The scheme was thoroughly discussed and adopted by resolutions, properly moved and seconded and carried unanimously, as set out in the reprint circular from the Black Man magazine, August through September 1935, herewith incorporated. Explanation of the 5-year plan. The 5-year plan is a scheme of colossal magnitude. Should the amount budgeted for be fully subscribed, it would enable the organization to, in a most practical and efficient manner, carry out not only the industrial, commercial, and other phases of the convention program, but to a great extent, encourage and carry out many of the major objects for racial development. The idea is to get every Negro in the world to pledge to contribute voluntarily a sum of money for 5 years and pay the same within 5 years to the plan. The amount to be contributed is to be left entirely to the financial ability of the individual person. It was suggested that no person could be so poor as to not be able to contribute at least $5 within 5 years to such a fund to assist in the general development of the race. Hence, nobody should be left out. The majority of people would be in a better position to contribute larger sums within the 5 years. For instance, some may be able to contribute $10, $20, $100, $500, or even $1,000 within 5 years. There is every reason why every Negro should contribute to this fund voluntarily, for it will supply the organization with the financial resources to work without prejudice in the complete interest of the race. It would help the organization realize all of its objects from which each and every Negro would benefit. The method of contribution to the fund is as follows. A person desirous of contributing makes a voluntary pledge for the amount to be contributed within 5 years, to be paid in installments, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually until paid. If possible, one could pay his pledge in one payment. The pledge must be sent to the headquarters of the organization, the parent body, 2200 East 40th Street in Cleveland, Ohio, at that time. The person pledging must give his or her full name, correct address, and profession. The person may send this first installment with the pledge. On receipt of the first payment, a pledge card will be issued from headquarters to the subscriber or donor with the amount pledged written on the card, and the amount of the installment paid also entered. The card is returned to the donor with the request that whenever other installments are to be paid, that the card be forwarded with the installment for the amount to be entered on the card and in the ledger at headquarters and returned to the donor. After the pledge is fully paid, a certificate is issued by the parent body to show that the particular person paid the pledge in contribution to the 5-year plan of the organization. At the close of the 5-year period, a record will be published in which each donor who has paid up the pledge will have his or her name recorded for the information of all concerned. The amount of money collected in the plan will be appropriated for carrying out the many schemes authorized by the Convention of 1934, as set out in the circular referred to above. In explaining the 5-year plan, great stress must be laid on the fact that for the Negro to realize the objective of a nation and government of his own, he must first have financial security. While no individual person can create a nation or a government for the race, because each individual is looking after his own personal and private business, there must be an organized cooperative effort towards this end. Hence, the effort is represented by the UNIA, to which all Negroes must contribute and with which they must cooperate. Established nations and governments get their revenue from taxes levied on the citizens. The Negro, having no government, cannot raise revenue for such a purpose in that way. Hence, those who desire such a thing must be voluntary contributors. The establishment of the different enterprises which will help to find employment for Negroes, and the profit of which will go to help the organization to carry out its nationalistic programs, is in keeping with the principles of the organization. to hold all its properties and wealth in hereditary trust for the Negro race. A contribution to the fund simply means that one is helping to place the race through organization in a position of financial security, through which it can march on to the realization of nationhood and government. If everybody contributed just the amount of money that is thrown away on non-essentials in 5 years, it will turn out that the very amount that would have been lost in waste becomes the actual resource to establish that which is most needed by every Negro in the world. Therefore, it is a patriotic duty of every Negro to contribute to the fund to make the plan a success. The many enterprises we undertake in America, Canada, the West Indies, South and Central America, and Africa will be instrumental in finding employment for countless thousands of Negroes who never would have been employed otherwise if the plan is fully supported. The very magnitude of the plan would give it status that would compel respect for the aims of the organization by all races. The 5 year plan has been seen as the most thoughtful economic scheme that could be undertaken as a solution to the economic, industrial, political, and other problems of the Negro race. No Negro should be left out of an interview on the subject without fully convincing him that he should contribute and to have him contribute to such a plan. How to get results. There's no use trying to represent the UNIA before making up your mind to get good results. The most important results are financial, active, and moral support. Financial support means to get as much money as possible to help finance the program. In getting such money, you must do so at the least cost so that the amount received will produce a net that can be used for the purpose for which it was obtained. Active results. Active results means enrolling persons as active members of the association. People who will always work as members to help put the program over. Moral support. Moral support means to secure sympathy and cooperation from from individuals so that the organization can always count on such persons to do their best for the movement. The way to get money. There are many ways to get money for the UNIA. Approach and interview the most substantial. Go ahead, President John. Approach and interview the most substantial members of the race in your community or your jurisdiction, such as the ministers of the gospel, doctors, lawyers, businessmen, and substantial tradesmen and persons of important occupations. Meet them at their homes or at their offices or place of business and seriously talk to them about the programs of the organization. Explain to them all its details, aims, and objectives. After doing so, ask them to contribute to the assistance of the association. Whatever they contribute must always be recorded with their names, occupations, and addresses. The names of such persons must always be transmitted to the parent body for record, and all remarks that may be necessary to explain the character and disposition of the person must be added to the report on each person, so that the parent body can be advised as to the nature of the person to help the cause. This is important also because communication with the people must be couched in language consistent with the person's disposition and intentions. It must be taken for granted that people of this class will be skeptical at first and have to be convinced by the proper arguments. If you can win over the support of such people who are the natural representative class of the race in the community, you have achieved a great deal in winning the kind of support that will enable the organization to speak with authority because it has the best class of people supporting you. In approaching ministers of the gospel, always be diplomatic enough to convince them of the Christian policy of the organization and the willingness of the organization to support the cause of the Christian religion. If the preacher is won over and he contributes, you may get further assistance from him by seeking permission to speak to his congregation to raise funds for the organization. In doing so, always arrange with him that a percentage of what is raised is given to the church so that he may feel interested and satisfied to assist that way. No preacher should be left until he has consented to help in some way, because there is no greater way of the church showing its willingness to expand the function of the church than by helping a cause like that of the UNIA. If a preacher refuses, it is evident that he has not been in touch with the proper argument or that he is positively selfish. One of the arguments to be used with the preacher is that by preaching unity, the association is assisting the church by getting Negroes to support their own religion, just as they are encouraged to support.
Macias. Brother Macias.
The argument for those who are in good positions, employed as they may be by white people, is that the white people will not always employ Negroes. A little bit. Open the President John. All right. They will only do so until they have been approached or forced to substitute white Negroes for white employees for Negroes. You must convince these Negroes that the association is seeking to establish such economic and industrial independence for the race as to be able to find substantial employment for its own men and women of equality and ability, as evidenced by the program of the 5-year plan. Tell them that with the success their support will help bring about, this can be achieved. A general approach should also be made to all other Negroes in their homes or at any place that you may conveniently meet them. Get them to contribute individually by using good, sound arguments for their support. The argument of the common people is that there is no economic security for the race when it has to always depend on the white man's employment. Therefore, by supporting the UNIA to the point of success, opportunities for employment will be created by the establishment of factories, mills, commercial farming and shipping enterprises, etc., which may offer them employment according to their training. You can explain to all of them, professional and common people alike, that contributing to the funds of the UNIA is no different to contributing to the funds of white organizations, which so many of them have done for so many centuries. But the point is that while contributing to white organizations, they are supplying the club to break their own heads economically and politically. In contributing to the UNIA, they will be supplying the ammunition that will be used to fight their enemies and to establish their own security, explaining to them that there is a much need for self-denial, even to the poorest person of the race, to help the UNIA, as the self-denial to help others causes with which they are not directly identified. There should be a proper method of approaching and in acquiring funds for the organization. If you are a representative of the organization, you will be supplied with the necessary credentials and the necessary account forms to submit for the gathering of such support. No one is supposed to make an appeal of the UNIA who is not authorized to do so, because it would mean trouble and fraud and would be unworthy of anyone who has secured these lessons. This method of approach must not be used for personal purposes, but only for the purposes of the UNIA. One of the major ways of raising funds for the UNIA is by public meetings advertised for the UNIA to explain its objects and to speak on its general program. Such meetings may be arranged through the agency of divisions of the association or an affiliated one, or through agents in the community. Where there is no branch of the association, these meetings can be arranged through friendly churches. In organizing such a meeting, an agent should be appointed first, a place secured, and a proper advertisement prepared and distributed in the community before the date of the meeting. In a community of 2,000 people, at least 1,000 handbills should be printed. In a community of 10,000 or more people, 2,000 or 3,000 handbills should be printed and widely distributed among the Negro population. All agents should be written to and asked to see that this is carried out, so that upon going to the place to address the meeting, you will not go where no one knows about it. Always word your handbills in the most attractive manner as to create general interest among Negroes. You should mention that you are a graduate of the School of African Philosophy to suggest to the public that you have rare, uncommon knowledge of great importance. This will attract their curiosity. When speaking at such a meeting, you should be at your best on the subject that you are going to discuss. After you have made your speech, sit down for a couple of minutes, then rise again and make your financial appeal. Unless you are addressing a division, don't make an appeal for money in the speech that you make, because people will think that you are only speaking for money. Immediately after the speech, get up and make another short speech for funds to support the organization. Always have your meeting well organized inside by arranging for ushers to take up the collection after you have asked for a special contribution, which should be brought up to a table immediately in front of the platform. After you have made the appeal for special contributions of large amounts, then get the usher to take up the small contributions. Never ask for extraordinary amounts in special contributions. Consider the pockets of the people. You may ask for 5, 3, 2, or 1 from those who can give that much for such a cause. Then after you have exhausted that, you may even ask for a special contribution of 50 cents. And then take up a collection from those who may not be able to give more than 25 cents or 10 cents. When you go into a strange community where the people are not members of the UNIA, make your first public meeting a meeting for obtaining members. All members who are to join must pay $1, 35 cents of which is the dues for first month, 25 is the joining fee, 25 cents is for the Constitution, and 15 cents is for the button and certificate. Each person must give a receipt for the $1. Then the person's name, occupation, address, and age is registered in the book. If you have secured 7 or more people as members, you have enough to start a division. After the meeting, call upon those who have joined to appoint a president and then have them elect a vice president, a treasurer, and a secretary. Leave a constitution and tell them that they must control the organization in keeping with the Constitution. Tell them that they will be privileged to hold regular meetings, suggest twice a week, but particularly on Sundays at 3 p.m. or 8 p.m. Instruct them to work to secure more members, and then they can apply to the parent body for a charter, the cost of which is $25. Also, tell them that they are privileged to collect money in their community from others who are sympathetic to the association to secure money for the charter. You should keep in constant touch with the secretary you have elected to find out when they are ready to apply for their charter. Then recommend that they contact the parent body for the charter. When they receive their charter, they should be advised to have a special meeting for the dedication of that charter. Then invite all the Negroes of the community to attend, at which time they should try to get more members of the association. If you remain in town the second night, call for members also and make an appeal for funds for the association. Always see that you secure your expenses and have money as a net to forward to the parent body whom you represent. If you remain in town for 1, 2, or 3 days to work up a division or to visit a division, you should take the time to interview all the potential members in the community to get financial support for the organization, so that the expenses of the trip would not only be on the meeting, but on the community from whom you may get financial support. In getting people to join a division and elect officers, you should leave with them the portion of the first month dues that is the division's, according to the constitutional law. Also, leave them a portion of the proceeds to enable them to start out with something in their treasury. When setting up a new division,
Hold on. Yeah, I moved it. I messed up. Company, town second night. When setting up, I think that's what you were. When setting up.
When setting up a new division.
if you remain in town, who you represent.
Brother Mason, where you at?
Okay, so I feel where you at? Where we at?
We're setting up a division here.
Okay, when setting up a new division, you should always advise them to rent a hall of their own where they will be able to hold their meetings without being disturbed. Suggest to them that they should not only depend they should not only suggested them that they should not only depend on the regular monthly dues and the collections to support the division, but they should organize entertainment of an innocent nature, such as dances, concerts, beauty contests, popularity contests, or any kind of social event on a regular basis to help bear the cost of the rental of the place. You should explain to them that from the very beginning, the division must make regular monthly report to the parent body. This is in accordance with the Constitution. You should point out to them that, and then mark those important sections of the Constitution that deal with the relationship between a division and the parent body. If you are a representative of the UNIA with credentials such as commissioner of a state, you should raise funds in the following way for the parent body which you represent. Hold bazaars within the state, picnics, garden parties, concerts, or any general amusement that the public is accustomed to and will likely patronize for a cause. Flower days, rose days, tag days, or self-denial days. If these functions are to take in the entire state, then ask all friends or divisions within the state to cooperate. When these events are held within a special community, then ask all friends of or divisions in that particular community to cooperate. This must only be done with the previous arrangements with the parent body. A report to the parent body must accompany every such function. All these functions must be held in the name of the organization. You may also have groups of people in your jurisdiction organize house parties and give public entertainments for the benefit of the organization. A way to do this is to approach some responsible person on the street or in a neighborhood and ask him to invite his friends to his house for the party. If possible, you should always be present, unless the person you have asked to have the party is a responsible and honest person who is in sympathy with the organization. If you arrange a tag day or a flower day, this should be of a private organizational nature, because if made public, it could be in conflict with certain municipal or state laws governing charities. These things are to be organized within the organization and among its friends. You can appoint members of the organization, such as units of the Black Cross nurses, to go into people's homes and offices and ask them to buy a tag or a flower to help the cause. Do not have them do it publicly on the street, except in communities where you are privileged to do so. In organizing these things, always try to get interesting people to help who will take part in these activities for the love of the cause and not for payment. You can arrange with churches in your jurisdiction to stage plays at their church hall or in the church or on a percentage basis, and then get local talent in your jurisdiction to contribute to the program free of cost. In this way, you will find yourself continuously active. After you have done this thoroughly for a year, you will become acquainted with all the parties, and it will then be very easy for you to do the same thing annually. In such work, let every minute count, because if you appreciate all this, you will have no time for idleness. As far as white people are concerned, we do not specialize in seeking contributions from them. But where you think it is wise to arrange lectures among them, revealing only the humanitarian part of the work, you may conduct such lectures and raise a collection or ask for help only in those humanitarian grounds. Do not commit yourself in any statement that would lead them to think that they could become members of your association or be affiliated with it or have any part in it. To do so would be a direct violation of the Constitution and against the association. This implies to individuals of other races that you may ask to contribute to any special fund, but wherever such contributions have been made, a record should be kept of the person's name and address, and a report should be given to headquarters with remarks made to show the contributor's race for the purpose of guiding the parent body in communications with such persons then and in the future. School of African Philosophy, College, Yale. We must win. We shall win. We will win. Win. Yes, win. And win to win. You and I shall win to win. For Africa, we win. We must win. We shall win. We will win. Win, yes, win, and win to win. For Africa, well, win to win. will win to win. The creed of goodness. To pass the time in doing good, to count, the creed of goodness. To pass the time in doing good, to count the evils we put down, to have our deeds so understood is nobler than to wear a crown. To bless the people as we go, to scatter seeds that grow to life, to strike all sins a deadly blow is better than to stir up strife. For this of all is greatest fame that none on earth can ever destroy. By Marcus Garvey.
Thank you, Brother Macius. That completes lesson 22 and all of Course of African Philosophy. We'll come back next week. Brief. If there's any questions about anything, we'll discuss that next week as a recap. And then, we'll have some questions for lesson 22. And if there's any questions about anything else, that'll be the opportunity. And study guide will also be given out. And then we will prepare for the upcoming exam. Will be the first 2 Saturdays of April, starting April 5th and then April 12th. April 12th. We're going to be at HEC. I don't know if April 12th will work. Might have to be like the week after, but we'll see. As of right now, today is March 25th. It's 26 now, after 12. April 1st is open, besides the questions from 5-year plan. So we'll prepare for exam upcoming Saturday following that. Sister Desiree, you got a question?
Well, I just wanted to say, after reading all of that, was one of the things, even though Marcus Garvey talking about different funds or having charity and everything, but he actually began within charity, let alone he understood the needs of the community, doing stuff, having things in the community without looking for a residual from the beginning. And I thought that was very interesting right there. I think that one of the things that we have to do as leaders, as brothers and sisters in the community, is that we have to build a level of trust. A level of trust. And through building a level of trust, because some people turn around, they say whatever, lie, whatever they want to do. You know what I'm saying? In order to get whatever intentions they have within inside of themselves. And regardless of, nobody wants to take this serious, but I'm just telling you, brothers and sisters, that if we can actually all just group together, or even we can't group together, we can have a Zoom or something, and we actually just do a ritual of just healing. Because that's the problem right there. That's why we're not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has all these concepts on how everything is supposed to be. And our ancestors sit here and give you all this information. And then in agreement, you're supposed to turn it around and figure out this and that. We done separated and all these different tribes, and that's all they are, is tribes. And it's still the same thing everybody is talking about. But everybody wants to have it this way and this way. And that's good. That shows that your brain is actually operating. So even that they have it this way, they have it that way, it doesn't even matter. The point is, what's the subject? What's the project? What are we doing? Are we unifying or not? Because all of that is necessary. The problem is the maturity of it, right? And that's why you have to get to the healing, because you can't unify if you in trauma, if you in pain, if you in neglect, if you in situations where, you know, you haven't ever dealt with things that happened to you in your life. You know, you cannot be communicative because somebody may say something that triggers something else off, that remind you of some trauma that you have been through. And I'm not even talking about the trauma that people go through within this lifetime as far as your age and growing up. I'm talking about the trauma that goes on, that cast down from generation to generation to generation. We are holding scars on us from our ancestors. And people don't understand the spiritual mode of that. So you can talk about a Marcus Garvey, you can talk about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, or anything else. Did they have every solution? No. The key that is missing is the healing. When did they have time to heal? You know, you go here, you go there. Just like that girl put that noose on there because she had to feel some type of love or appreciation because there was the robbery that they gave to us as a people, our ancestors and everything else. And then you go into these stages and then you don't want to look any further. And then you believe in God and then you don't believe in God, but you don't know why you're here and you don't know who your parents are or how or whatever. And that still takes a burden on us as a people. So when have we not need healing? We had to fight every day since the beginning of time. Go all the way back to your Bible, your Quran, or whatever you want to go to. When have our ancestors not been in in trauma in this country alone, in the world? All because that you don't know who you are. You don't know what you carry. You don't know the melanin in your skin. Even through everything that went through with this cattle slavery and goes on before that, you're still asking questions. Where am I? Where am I? I gotta have the right to self-determination. Where are you? Right here where your feet land. Where's the government over here? Where's the government over there? Where's the government over there? The government is you. You are the God and the goddess. You are the universe. You are the creators, the juvenators, the shakers. You don't need their format. You have that format within inside of you through the melanin of your skin. The carbonation that goes through you, and that is science. Why do you think they want to kill you? They want to eat you or make you a Munich or turn around and do everything that these troglodytes, these aliens have done to our ancestors because you allow, because you want to use the other side of you. Of what? Still crying a revolution that was already yours in the get-go. And then we come up with these scenarios and have to go everywhere else to build up what? That's already inside of you. It was neither here nor there. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we have to begin with. All these lessons good, taking all these tests, everybody getting educated. Where's the common sense at? You know, the first thing is self-preservation. Street smarts, book smart, everything. Peace, love, respect, honor. You know, just knowing about the elements. But anyway, neither here nor there. We're not going to get anywhere by following along. These are guidebooks. You are here to do a job to finish what the ancestors started. They did not do it in vain. They did it because they loved what they seen in that mirror, and they loved their people. They loved, I mean, genuine love, unconditional love. Unconditional love. Does anybody have a definition for that? Do you know what it means to love your brother and sister unconditionally? And it didn't have to go to disrespect. You know? But anyway, when brothers and sisters get tired of being on that plantation for real, maybe we can do something.
Thank you, Sister Desiree. It's a little after 12. Brothers and sisters, we're going to get ready to close out and prepare for next week's closing classes. So with that, we'll close out with our motto. If everyone would, please go on mute. Repeat after me. One God.
One
One
God.
God.
One aim.
One aim.
One aim.
One destiny.
One destiny.
Africa for the Africans.
Africa for the Africans.
Those at home.
Those at home.
And those abroad.
And those abroad.
Race, family.
Race,
Black power.
Black power.